Okay, I had my Labor Day feast. Was at a place called it's a Middle Eastern place, and it's all you can eat buffet, and I guess it's more Eastern of Middle East slightly. But anyway, my stomach hurts, so bear with me. Anyway, the one of the stories of something that's happened to me recently in the past week. My brother seems to think that this is definitely something that should be blogged, and I kind of tend to agree with him, so I'm just going to, in my state of gluttony, talk about this thing that happened to me. It all started in my predicament of being unemployed and looking for a job, and I went on to Craigslist and selected jobs, and it was a screen printer job, which is actually screen printing for t-shirts. And this particular one apparently had sent my number to it, and they wanted some Photoshop, and I had taken Photoshop. I guess 2004 was the last time I had it in at a graphics program at a vocational school for about 6 months. On and off, the whole time wasn't just Photoshop. But anyway, so I knew it, and I had used it at Kodak before that in the job somewhat for looking at images and so forth way back, further back than that. And so I was familiar with it, and it would just take some time to do this, to dust off the cobwebs. And they also wanted a manual screen printer, and he was looking to get a automatic print. I guess if you're familiar with the screen printing process, you have to take an image that you make like on Photoshop or something and make a mask that kind of goes like on a Xerox piece of plastic. They call that the positive, and then you take that, and somehow that gets put on the screen. I think it's a photographic process with dark lights and stuff, and then you wash that off, and then this thing dries, and then you have your image positive mask that you can squeegee ink through onto like t-shirts and hats and things like that. And so anyway, this guy was this guy had called me back on the job, and I had told him, test me on Photoshop, and he never did really that day, which was last Thursday. And because basically we talked a lot, and we, it looked like he had a lot of stuff around the shop, and it's kind of, I guess there was an issue. Somebody had left the flash dryer on and almost burnt the place down. Fire department had been out there and had to break in. He had a $500 bill for lock changes and so forth from the landlord. Did I mention this guy was Muslim, and it's Ramadan? So do you know what Muslims do during Ramadan? They fast. That means from sunup to sundown, they neither eat nor drink. Now, how in the hell are you supposed to run a business when you're not eating or drinking from sunup to sundown? And then they eat at night, when you go to sleep. So needless to say, I think a lot of Muslims put a lot of weight on after Ramadan. Anyway, it's about halfway through. It lasts a month. It's a lunar-based thing. And anyways, somehow I ended up being overly volunteeristic and went up to actually on Craigslist go get another piece of equipment to replace the one that got burnt out, the flash dryer. And I actually ended up loaning this guy $35-40 to buy the printer, which I did get paid back, but it doesn't speak well that we're not talking 50. It's not a huge amount of cash that a business owner should be prepared to have beforehand. Anyway, I saved him like a little bit of a trip to go to the bank and come back to buy the thing before we carted it off the property we went to. That's my first mistake. You don't go on like a field trip like that right after you have an interview. Anyway, so we dropped off the 2 other workers. One of them didn't have her own set of wheels. The other set of wheels was some other place. Fishy stories. And the owner told me to come back tomorrow morning. He said the other guy would show me the screen printing, and that would do it, you know. So see you, what time? 10 a.m. is fine, great. So I got in there at 10, and I'm talking with the screen printer guy in the back, and then the owner that's fasting because he's on Ramadan comes back, and he's, you know, obviously, and it's easy to understand, the guy's a little bit uptight. I guess they haven't made product for 10 days, so you know, he's not happy with the situation, and he says Photoshop to me. And I thought, you know, I came dressed to do screen printing, and so I went to the computer to just, you know, I had trying to brush my skills up on Photoshop the previous night, and I did my best to try and lay down some, you know, I thought what we had talked about was a simple design to begin with. Yeah, so Photoshop. So, you know, he didn't give me anything specific to do on the Photoshop, and I just kind of, you know, I knew that there was going to be some text and simple things. We had discussed simple things. And he said, you know, it kind of reminded me, hey, you know, I had some girl come out here. She sat here all day and made nothing. I'm like, yeah. And so I showed him this, and he wanted showed me a t-shirt that had a symbols with distress font. It's kind of like a machine wash type of fading with, you know, scraggly stuff on the text, kind of, you know, not make it solid. It's a little bit broken, and I think this was an $8 an hour job, and you know, he had asked me how much I made before and how old I was, etc., etc. Those actually are kind of things you don't really, especially the age thing, not something you really talk about in an interview. You know, age discrimination type business. Anyway, so then, you know, kind of giving some more hints around this job was Photoshop and screen printing, and we're stuck here. My Photoshop guy's gone. I can give him something to do. He can email it back to me in 15 minutes. Need more complex designs to be done. And he's like, I can't do anything. He just showed me a ton of orders the previous day. And so basically we kind of... I kind of got pissed off because I could barely understand the guy with his accent. It was extremely difficult, the way he talked. Required a lot of concentration and patience to decipher what it was he was saying. And then when I started hearing that this job was for Photoshop and so forth and so on, and I just got the, you know, the feeling that, hey, this is he's not taking what I have. He's not waiting for me to get back to speed, and he's moving on to the next fresh meat, I guess. And basically he just kind of said, hey, you know, told you it'd take time to resurrect it, but you don't have time, so hey. And he's like, call me on Tuesday. I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll call you on Tuesday, right? Anyway, so that's the story. That's buyer beware, or worker beware from Craigslist. There was another job I went to that was it was entitled Field Service Tech. And you know what it was? It was mostly going residential or hospital selling air filters, like probably like vacuum cleaners or air filters. It cost like $2,400. I had talked to some other girl, and she had said, don't do that. My roommate did that. They may promise $1,000 every 2 weeks, but they don't ever give any, and they're a total scam. And that's another one to watch out for. So yeah, there's a lot of crap out there floating around on the Craigslist. You just be watching out. especially for jobs. We're all desperate for jobs, but don't just take the first thing that comes along. Peace out.